Letter to House Speaker Pelosi asking her to bring forward legislation, get this, to support the police and address the nation's spike in crime. Quote, members should have the opportunity to show our constituents that we are addressing crime in our communities. South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace, member of the House Oversight Committee and House Veterans Affairs Committee, joins me now. Good morning, Congresswoman.
And good morning.
So let's talk about this. We've seen for years now that Democrats, especially the caucus on the left, want to defund police. They want to move funding to people that are counselors and things like that rather than actually going out and policing. They've used race as an issue here. And now we have 30 Democrats that maybe they just want to make sure they keep their seat. Is that what this is?
More than likely, and it's clear that the Democrats have a branding problem. You just had Nancy Pelosi slow walk the security bill that would keep our justices safe when they had protesters showing up on their front lawn, when someone was armed and dangerous, and when the president, Joe Biden, wouldn't condemn these protests outside their homes, which, by the way, is against the law. But yeah, you're definitely seeing a funding, I guess, a branding problem with Democrats going into the midterm elections. Absolutely, 100%.
You know, kind of moving from the funding of police, because this is a part of the same topic, you've had people vandalize your home, and you know what it's like to have groups try to pressure you into voting a certain way. But we actually have laws against that that sometimes are enforced. Law enforcement is monitoring a radical pro-abortion group called Jane's Revenge ahead of the Supreme Court ruling that could come out any moment now, really. And now you're calling for a congressional hearing about these attacks on the pro-life pregnancy centers. We were talking about this earlier this morning with a guest. It seems like the DOJ just isn't really taking this as seriously as they have some of the other things, like, say, white supremacy and politically charged issues that they've investigated.
No, absolutely. We have a lot of hearings on Oversight Committee and other committees about right-wing violence, but none about left-wing violence. And when you go and you have the FBI come and testify at your hearings, they'll tell you they don't even classify Antifa or anarchists as its own classification of groups or extremists that are committing crimes. Like this Jane's Revenge group, they have taken claim for over 14 firebombs and attacks on these different pregnancy centers and faith institutions across the country. There have been over 40 attacks over the last few months, and we're not having a single hearing or investigation about it. And we really ought to make sure that every community is safe, no matter their faith or political bent.
You know, we have some sound on tape here of the White House kind of denouncing violence. Let's take a listen.
Again, violence and destruction of property have no place in our country under any circumstance, and the president denounces this action. Actions like this are completely unacceptable, regardless of our politics.
So the juxtaposition here, you know, we talked about defund the police being a movement on the left, and now you have 30 congressmen on the left calling for funding the police, basically. Now we move that over to this issue, and we see the White House is saying, oh, violence, we don't have a place for that. But just a few weeks ago, we saw, or not even a few weeks ago, we saw an assassination attempt on a Supreme Court justice, and we couldn't get the White House to really move or say that, hey, don't go protesting, which is against the law, in front of these Supreme Court justices while they do their job. This is a little bit of speaking out of both sides of their mouth, and can you really trust that the DOJ is taking this seriously if it seems the White House has it?
Well, everything the White House says, everything Joe Biden has said so far in his first term as president has been a lie. He's just flip-flopped on every issue. And in fact, when it was brought up to his administration weeks ago, when the map was released, the addresses were released of the justices, they were very flippant about it. They didn't condemn this. And then since, and as you said, someone showed up on Justice Kavanaugh's porch, armed and dangerous, ready to kill, and they just let it go. And they've slow-walked security for our Supreme Court justices. But because of the prospect of violence, because of some of the rhetoric on the left, and they're allowing it, endorsing it, and condoning it, they've now had to put fencing around the Supreme Court, even just down the block from here. And so they're not doing their job. They're not doing a good job in protecting our communities, which is why you're going to see many of them voted out in November.
Well, Congresswoman, thanks for joining us this morning, and we'll see what happens.